Hi everybody, this is Julie Quinn. I want to do a quick video announcement to show you what TurnItIn looks like and some of the issues that I think that Nova faculty may have with TurnItIn. I know that everybody's experience is different. May not be a bad idea to use it just in case, but be on your guard, and there should absolutely be some Google phrase checking on the outside of it of TurnItIn, because if you can see on my screen here, I have a student test sample, and I've got 3 different assignments for just my template class, and this is my student identity. And I went in and I submitted assignments into this to show you what it looks like when you use TurnItIn. And at the end of the video I'll show you how to turn it on and how to set it up with an assignment. You set it up right when you create the assignment. There's an option to turn it on, and do you want it to check certain elements, and when students submit it, it should do the checks automatically. Maybe it should be like 15-20 minutes, and today it's working pretty good. I did the Wikipedia and the Twitter assignment submissions, and it's triggering accurately, but you'll notice that the plagiarism one for that assignment did not trigger. So let me show you what this means. The pink in your grade center doesn't have anything to do with plagiarism. It just means the assignment was submitted late. It has to do with the due date that I had for like 2018 set on the assignment. It's these little flags. The flags will tell you that a file has a similarity score. So you can go into the speed grader and you can go student by student. And what you'll see here is that it says 97%. The file was called Wiki Document. It was my Wikipedia research essay. But what I did was I just went to the United States of America Wikipedia entry, and all I did was cut and paste it in. So it should say 100%. But that's pretty close. That's not a big deal. This is exactly what you should be seeing, a super high percent matching. And then when you click on it, on the indicator, it takes you into the TurnItIn software. So in here, everything that's highlighted is everything that triggered. Okay, so you'll notice you can see it. If you click on the 97 again, it will expand and tell you where it got the information. And it's not always exactly where you got it from. So just remember, when you're having conversations with students that you think possibly plagiarized, there are multiple places on the web where the same information is repeated. I only went to Wikipedia, but this says Bewagolf, and somebody took part of this and submitted it to another school. You can see that with this one. With these submitted to another school, you're not going to get access to that. But what I tend to find is that that student probably got on the web, and this is just the first place it triggered, or because it probably found it in the databases that it collects from other student papers. When something like this triggers and it says a student paper, just grab that text and throw it into a Google search with quote marks. That should help you. But when we go back to this grade area, you can see under the plagiarism paper, let me just refresh, hang on a second, that there is a worrisome indicator here. Let's see if I can get it to pop back up. Okay, you see where there's a gray mark there and not red? It says submitted late, file upload. It has a similarity score. So when you click into it, here's the problem. I also got this from a newspaper on the web. It was posted 2 weeks ago. So it should have triggered, but it didn't. It just says resubmit to TurnItIn, and then when it asks you to do it, it just says resubmit to TurnItIn. So if we do a search, if we grab this text, I'm going to grab it and show you what happens. So I'm going to go into the web. I'm going to the Google. I'm doing a quick search. Okay. The information came from, this says the press reader from Washington Times. That's not where I got it. You could tell I got it from the Chicago Tribune. So it's going to show you different places where the information came from. And there it is. But the problem is that TurnItIn in this case did not trigger the news website. So TurnItIn is not always accurate. It's sometimes pretty accurate, but don't rely on it entirely. The other problem that I've had with TurnItIn is when students, instead of just going to general websites, and I've done multiple bits of research on this. I've gone to Scientific American, I've gone to CNN, I've gone to other newspapers, I've gone to Wikipedia. It's persnickety, so sometimes it works and sometimes it does not work. When all else fails and you still have questions, throw it into Google. What I found was, and I spoke to Heidi Redmond about this and Michelle G, and Heidi came back to me and said that TurnItIn software can't get through those paper purchasing websites. And so if we go to Course Hero, I'm just going to look up Steinbeck Course Hero, Grapes of Wrath Study Guide. There's interesting coding on the websites. And let's just do Course Hero, Grapes of Wrath essay. I want to show you what this actually looks like. So you can see part of this, and do you see how then it's blocked? Where the web crawlers that are behind Course Hero, they don't want websites like TurnItIn to be able to gain access because they'll lose their money because students expect some sort of element of value in buying this and using this. So when I've had students use Course Hero, and it doesn't trigger, it will look something like this in the Grade Center, where you don't actually see anything. It's gray. It's like, oh, we've done the search, but there are no search responses. So we're going to go back into it again, and you'll see that it's still saying, well, do you want to resubmit it? And it's going to keep asking you that. I've had, this is a newer version that I've put in today, but I've done the same article 3 days ago, and it says when it's busy, it should take up to 24 hours. But it's not great. It's not accurate. And sometimes when it triggers, it doesn't trigger. It doesn't mean that a student is plagiarized. So my recommendation for you, like with SafeAssign, is use other tools at your disposal. Faculty member Professor Kelly Cochran purchased a membership account with Grammarly, and she says it's amazing. You can upload files quickly, although you will have to manually do that, but that works very well. So you can see in here, this is my student identity at the bottom of a class, and we're going to go into, do you see where the green symbols are that has a similarity score? The going green is kind of safe, but you see that it's still 22%. And then I believe above 30% is yellow, then it goes to orange and red, so sort of like on a severity scale. But let's look at the details of this assignment. So it had a 22%, so yeah, maybe be a little bit concerned. Click on it. If you see that, don't just ignore it, but you can go through and you want to interpret the SafeAssign report. So this is just a sample one that I took from maybe a text that I wrote like as a sample paper to show students how to write argumentatively. You'll notice that the first trigger is just quoted text. The second trigger is just quoted text, and so on. This trigger is an excerpt, so there's no quoted text, but it is not plagiarism. So just because something triggers at 22% does not mean that the person plagiarized. There are some settings you can manipulate to lessen the severity of a triggering, but again, just be super careful with the way that you set up an assignment, and I think that in that way it'll be a lot better for your students and for you and the work that you do in checking. So if you're in assignments and you want to create an assignment with the tool, we'll just go into this one. You can go back into your assignment, or you can create a new one. You always want to click edit, and you'll notice that the TurnItIn software is plagiarism review is right below. Well, what kind of submission? Always online. And let me strongly recommend that you have your students submit as a doc or docx file, just for its searchability. It's also easier to detect if students are trying to hide paragraphs in white font and all of that when you get the bigger text. Word documents are the best for word count checking and for plagiarism checking. So plagiarism review, turn it on. Standard, you can store it in the standard paper repository. It's going to compare against what's been put in there before, periodicals, journals, publications, and website content. But this website content is not robust. Similarity report. You can choose to exclude bibliographic material, so it gets a trigger with a word like bibliography or works cited or references. Yeah, turn that one on. You can turn on exclude quoted materials, right? So if it only has a single open quote but doesn't have an end quote, it would trigger. It should trigger. You can also choose to exclude small sources, like maybe somebody's quoting a concept. So that's all built in. And in addition, there is a grammar checker there. You may not be teaching an English class, but you may want this for, it's not perfect, but it's a good, I will turn this on, I think, for my students' narratives, and I'm going to go through it and sort of see what was accurate. Well, that may allow me to spend less time grading because we don't point out everything, right? And it may not catch everything, but if it catches a lot of fragmented sentences, well, then it's a good tool. Show report to students immediately. So, when you're in your student ID, I'm going to go into this class's student identity. So if I go home and I go to student view, that's how you get there. You can always go check your assignments either through assignments or grades. You can go into the assignment by clicking on it. Actually, I want to go into a different assignment, the one that triggered pretty heavily. Tell your students to go in and check. Over here on the right-hand side is submission details. This is where they can see their feedback, either through comments, they can see their grade, and they will also immediately, as quickly as you get the report, they get the report. So here's my recommendation for benefits of TurnItIn. I don't want to leave this video without that. It's not a bad idea when it does work, but tell them it's not perfect. They always have to check their work. But the way that Canvas is set up is that they can submit 50 times up and until the submission deadline. So I always leave it open at least a week ahead so students who want to check their work can go ahead and throw a file up. And what's nice is when you're in there, you only see the most recent file. So you won't see students' prior work or students' prior reporting percentages. So when I go into grades, there were a couple of other submissions in here. So if I go into the speed grader, you'll see a little pull down menu right here, and you can see all of the different submissions and all of the different reports. I mean, if you want to. But what's nice about the system is it will only show you the most recent one. So students can use TurnItIn and the grammar as a checklist just to make sure their documentation is correct. But their final place to go should always be us as faculty. If they have any questions, because again, TurnItIn does not obviously capture everything, and I think that should be a major concern, and wholeheartedly trusting it to do the work to make sure students aren't plagiarizing. If you have any questions at all on this and you want to practice with your classes, please just let me know. Take care.